I'd like to welcome you to our Chandler Unified School District Governing Board meeting. We had a study session previously before this meeting started on our salary comparisons. And this evening, we'll start with our roll call. Mrs. Nye?
Jason Collins. Barb Moston.
Here.
Joel Worth.
Here.
Kurt Roars.
Here.
Patty Serrano.
Here. Thank you, Mrs. Nye. Would everyone please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. We'll start off with some routine business. Our first is to approve the minutes of the February 8th, 2023 regular board meeting. Could I please get a motion?
Madam President, I move to approve the minutes as written.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next, we have to approve and ratify payroll and accounts payable vouchers. May I please get a motion?
I will move to approve and ratify payroll and accounts payable.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving and ratifying payroll and accounts payable vouchers, please say aye.
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 The motion carries. Mr. Narducci, do we have any correspondence today?
Madam Vice President, there is no correspondence this evening.
Thank you. Next, we're going to have a recognition of our state champions. Stephanie Ingersoll will be presenting.
Thank you, Madam President. We are proud to bring in the Perry High School show cheer coaches and students. They are state champions.
Oh, wow. It's a big crew.
Me? Okay. Hi, I'm Desiree Haug. I'm the head coach at Perry High School. I've been coaching there now for 12 years. And these girls just brought back our 6th program state championship. And they did what a lot of people thought they couldn't. They went back to back after we lost 12 seniors last year, so that just means they won state last year. They won again this year through a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and a lot of teamwork, and we're so proud of them. So good job, girls.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to all of you. It's quite an honor to be state champions. I do believe that there's going to be a few pictures taken, so you might want to scoot in together a little bit. And all right. We next have our student body president report, and tonight we have Ella Choi from Castile High School. She'll start off. What's going on at Castile?
Good evening, Madam President, Mr. Narducci, and members of the board. It's a pleasure to see you all again, and I'd like to thank you for having me tonight. To reintroduce myself, I am Ella Choi, and I'm the student body president at Castile High School. A lot has happened since I last see you, and I'm so excited to share what our school has accomplished in the last few months. We're excited to announce the implementation of Hype Club at Castile. This club allows students to be directly involved by promoting spirit at school sporting events. As a school that values tradition, we are excited to see the legacy that this club can create at Castile. Additionally, Castile Culinary has had some fantastic experiences over the past few months. They hosted the annual chili cook-off between all the Chandler high schools and had the opportunity to participate in the Taste of the NFL. They were able to meet some celebrity chefs, including Mario from Cake Boss and Carla Hall. Also, they competed in the Blue Watermelon competition held at Mountain View. Josephine Rosado and Ashton Palmer won $5,000, and Sofia Fermano won $2,000. We are so impressed with their success and cannot wait to see how they perform in their future endeavors. We are so proud of our dance team, Project 15. They attended UDA Nationals in Florida for the first time ever and placed 8th in the nation for hip hop and 6th in the nation for jazz. We are so proud of all they have accomplished and are looking forward to seeing them compete in the future. Our Safe School Ambassadors Club has been giving back to the community. This is the second year they have volunteered at Feed My Starving Children, packing 142 boxes and providing 30,672 meals for children in need across the world. I would like to congratulate our members of band and orchestra that were selected for All Region. Kelsey Mikesell and Katie Buffington were recognized for their commitment to the French horn and clarinet. For All Region Orchestra, I would like to congratulate Natasha Dermichin, Cassandra Kolseka, Caitlin Hutchins, Holden McCuller, Olivia Strum, Marcy Lopez, and Sophia Pagano. Their hard work and dedication has put Castile Band and Orchestra on the map, and we cannot be more proud of them. We are so thrilled with all the accomplishments our choir has had. Jazz Choir competed at the NAU Jazz and Madrigal Festival 2 weeks ago and received a superior rating. 23 members participated in the regional choir last weekend, and 7 choir members are taking part in national choirs in Cincinnati this week. We cannot be more excited for them. Along with that, Castile DECA has had success in all their competitions. They had 14 members medal at district. Additionally, they hosted their very own market day where DECA students were able to manage their own booths and sell products to Castile students. This was a fantastic way to bring students together to learn more about marketing. We are wishing them good luck at the State Career Development Conference this week. We know they'll do great. Our theater program has had some amazing accomplishments. They hosted a 24-hour play festival where all the preparation of the show happens in one day. Their proceeds have gone towards sending our talented students to nationals this summer. They also crushed it at EAFT, bringing 24 events and earning a total of 24 superiors and 4 excellents. We're excited for their upcoming play in March and their improv shows. Both our men's and women's soccer teams have advanced to the semifinals. We wish our women's soccer team good luck tonight against Notre Dame Prep. Unfortunately, our men's soccer season has come to an end last night, but we admire all their diligent work and dedication to their sport. A huge congratulations to our men's and women's wrestling teams. Our girls took first place at the Miramaya tournament in New Mexico, and both teams traveled to Reno, Nevada to compete in one of the toughest tournaments in the nation and performed very well. I'd also like to congratulate Coach Callison for receiving the Arizona Coach of the Year and Section 7 Coach of the Year for the Southwest region of the United States. We have 13 boys and 7 girls moving to state, and we cannot be more proud of them. Castile Cheer recently received first place at the TSC Cheer competition and are heading to USA Nationals this weekend. Last month, both Cheer and Palm competed at the state competition. Both teams did an outstanding job. Palm advanced and had the opportunity to perform again. The competition was very difficult, and they represented Castile with pride. We are so happy for them and can't wait to see what else they accomplish this season. At Castile, we value tradition, and this year we were able to continue our tradition of Culture Day, where various student organizations come together to promote different cultures and inclusivity at our school. We were amazed at the presentations and performances by PIA, BSU, French Club, Legacy Club, and Choir. It was also great to hear more from our foreign exchange students. We are excited to continue this tradition at Castile and to learn more about the cultures represented here at Castile. Our student government has had some great experience in the past few months. We were able to attend state convention this year, where we connected with other student governments from across the state and where we were able to strengthen our skills to better help our council and our school. Also, we helped out a district convention for the junior high and elementary school student governments. We had a lot of fun putting together the decorations and our council dance. We are looking forward to our Morph Dance this Saturday. The theme is iconic duos, and students will dress up as characters from their favorite movies and television shows. Our student government has worked hard to promote this event, and we are excited to host such a fun dance. This concludes the accomplishments here at Castile for the beginning of the year. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share with you the success our school has had. I'm beyond proud of everything our clubs, fine arts, CTE, and athletics have done to make Castile such an outstanding school. I would not be able to do this without the support of my student government advisors, Ms. Fredrickson and Ms. Colbert. Thank you again for this opportunity, and I do have a little treat for you guys.
Thank you, Ella. We appreciate. We appreciate all that you do for Castile High School, and we love to hear what's been going on there. So thank you so much.
Good job, thank you.
Next, we have Camille Escobar from Chandler High School. What's going on at Chandler High?
Good evening, Mr. Narducci, board members, and those here tonight. Thank you for inviting me once again. My name is Camille Escobar, and I am the student body president at Chandler High School. It hasn't been long since we've last seen each other, but CHS has been busy with lots of fun events and activities, so let's get into them. We kicked off this new semester with our Unity Assembly, which is our multicultural assembly that showcases all the different cultures we have on our campus through dancing, singing, and other performances. We had multiple performers from Los Lobos, our Black Student Union, choir, theater, CHS dance, and even a special surprise from our CHS daycare kids. We had a total of 3 assemblies with my spirit commissioner and I as the MCs. There were 11 outstanding acts that were a true reflection of the culture and diversity on our campus. This is a tradition that we are proud to continue with, and we hope to have a wider variety of cultures showcased throughout the year. In late January, 5 of our student council members had the honor to attend the Arizona Association of Student Councils State Convention. This was a 3-day student council convention that took place at Mojave High School with hundreds of other councils across Arizona. This convention offers a series of general sessions that consist of multiple guest speakers and small groups that encourage students to interact with each other, allowing for us to receive new ideas to bring back to our schools and councils. Each day had a different theme, the first day being PAC, where we represented CHS as wolves, and the second day where we dressed up as Mother Nature. The final day, we wore our CHS gear with pride. The 5 of us learned so much about how to be great leaders, and the people and the things that we talked about and the people that we met will forever be cherished. It is an opportunity that we are grateful to have been a part of, and we know that from what we learned, we will only grow to be better people and leaders. Just a week ago, we had our annual district convention, which is in partnership with the other CUSD high school student councils. Our theme this year was Lights, Camera, Lead, where students dressed as their favorite movies. This convention is one that brings together all the student councils in the district to focus on a day of leadership, as they hear from a guest speaker and work with each other and our other high school students in leadership workshops. This truly is a memorable event for young leaders, our high school students, and the special guests that attend. This event is one that we put pride in, and it's one that all CUSD leaders look forward to. Choir has had a busy quarter as they were invited to sing at the mayor's State of the Meeting, as well as had some of their members make it to the Regional Honor Choir and All-State Jazz. They also had a mesmerizing performance at our Unity Assembly, and their chamber competed at the NAU Jazz Mad Festival, where they earned an excellent in Madrigal and superior in jazz. CHS definitely takes pride in our choir, and we applaud them on their accomplishments. We look forward to the rest of the year and what it will bring for our talented singers. Another group on campus that we take pride in is our CHS dance. MODAS, our highest level of dance on campus, was invited to perform at the Mayor's State of the City address on February 16th. The theme of the event was decades, so they performed a mashup of the 90s biggest hits. MODAS also just got back from the High School State Dance Festival on February 20th, where a dance piece by McKenna Lombardi and Bella Carmagiano was adjudicated. We are looking forward to hearing their results. The CHS Dance Booster, which is only in their 2nd year, received the CUSD Recognition Award for Outstanding Volunteers on February 15th. They have a few dinner and night fundraisers set for the future, so make sure to stay tuned. CHS Dance will also be presenting Venture, their upper level concert on April 18th and 19th at 7 p.m. in the CCA main stage. May Day, the lower level concert, is on May 10th and 11th at 7 p.m. in the CCA Bogle Theater. We hope you look forward to seeing our wonderful dancers take the stage, and we will see you there. Chandler FFA has been incredibly busy this quarter. On February 24th and the 25th, FFA members will be competing at state and career developmental events, these being agricultural business, mechanics and sales, vet tech, food science, floriculture, and job interview. They qualified earlier this month for district, and we wish them luck on this upcoming competition. This week is also National FFA Week, which is recognized locally by the City of Chandler, as well as nationally. CHS FFA members have been participating in a Spirit Week to show their support for FFA. Something they're looking forward to is in March 27th, which is when their silent auction begins. It is their biggest fundraiser, and I'm excited to share more information as it approaches closer. FFA has had a wonderful year so far, and we know they will finish off the year with many more accomplishments. Model UN just returned from their Boston trip for a 4-day United Nations Harvard Model Conference, where they were able to meet students from all around the world who shared the same interests as them. Outside of their conference, they did a lot of historical sightseeing in downtown Boston and even took the Freedom Trail, which connects 16 nationally significant historical sites. Our Model UN truly had a wonderful time during their trip, and we know they are already looking forward to going back next year. As our winter sports are coming to an end, I wanted to give you a few updates before we head into our spring sports. Both boys and girls basketball qualified for playoffs, making it into the first round. Boys wrestling had 7 state qualifiers, Anthony Rivera and Gabriel Fuentes. Girls wrestling also had 3 qualifying for state. Our winter sports had outstanding seasons of growth and accomplishments, and we applaud all of our players and teams for their hard work this season. With our spring sports starting soon, please look forward to more updates regarding our teams. Student Council has had many things currently in the works, so let's talk about them. We are currently starting our student body election process, which consists of informational meetings, interviews, teacher recommendations, student signatures, and campaigning. Current junior students will be able to apply for a student body position, and we hope to have the results within the next month so our next year's student body can start preparing for the 2023-24 school year. After our student body elections, we will begin the process for our class elections. I know that next year's council seems like a long way from now, but I assure you that the time will pass quickly. I know the students selected will be the greatest leaders for CHS, and just soon enough, they will be introduced to you all. One of the events that is quickly approaching is our Spring Sports Assembly. Student Council is incredibly excited for our last sports assembly of the year, and our Spirit Commissioner and her committee have been working hard to make sure that it is one to remember. Going back to our juniors, our Stuco juniors have been preparing for prom since the end of their sophomore year. The theme this year will be revealed at our Spring Sports Assembly, so you'll have to wait till then for more information. Of course, you'll get updates on all the events that I've mentioned during my next visit, and I hope you're excited to hear how all of our planning goes. Thank you once again for having me here today. It truly is an honor to be representing CHS. I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Camille. We really appreciate hearing what's going on at Chandler High, and thank you for taking the time out of your studying to come speak to us at our meeting. We appreciate it. Next, we have our citizens' comments, and Stephanie Ingersoll is going to conduct this portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. This is the time for the public to comment. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38431001H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to review the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. The first speaker this evening is Brandy Reese on school clubs.
Good evening, Superintendent Narducci, Acting President Barb, and guests, board members. My name is Brandy Reese. I'm a parent, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I wanted to bring something to your attention that I think needs some consideration. Back in October, I became aware of a student club that is held at a Chandler Unified School District school, Perry High School, that troubled me. So I wrote to the principal and outlined my concerns as follows. I recently discovered that there is a Turning Point USA club on Perry High School campus. This disturbs me a great deal given the divisive rhetoric and harmful extremism Turning Point and the founder, Charlie Kirk, espouse and promote. For example, here in Gilbert, Turning Point was behind the anti-trans, anti-democracy, hate-filled signs that were posted around town against Clint Smith, who was running for Congress. I included a link that showed how the founder, Charlie Kirk, had attacked members of the trans community as well. Turning Point USA keeps watch lists of school boards and professors that it considers radical. This includes this school board. It posts the board members' photos, names, and contact information. And while this is publicly available, Turning Point's watch list website also includes violent imagery, language, and videos. I also included a recent article from the Arizona Republic about a similar club in Cave Creek, and that club had parental concerns. As you can see, this is not simply a conservative group. This group is intolerant and perpetuates misinformation and lies. It's ironic that their rallying message is to root out indoctrination in our schools while employing those very methods. I propose that this type of club has no place on a school campus where it should be our goal to encourage the pursuit of truth, community, collaboration, equity, and inclusion. Unfortunately, I was told that since the club is student-led, it would therefore be allowed. Last week, I learned that this club was welcoming a speaker popularly named MAGA Hulk on campus. This person has affiliations with the Proud Boys and was canceled as a speaker recently at UC Berkeley because of protests and violence. He espouses toxic masculinity about what real men do, including going to pew some guns that poses a problem to men and the broader society. This invites physical danger, is divisive, and perpetuates mentally harmful attitudes, speech, and behaviors. I therefore respectfully request that the policies of CUSD be amended to prohibit groups such as this.
The next speaker we have is Solomon Galen on AZ Building Trades.
Good evening, Council. It's a pleasure. Thank you for letting me address you. My name is Solomon Gallion. I represent the Arizona Building Trades Council. We are standing up a multi-craft core curriculum. It's the only nonprofit multi-craft CTE program in the state for pre-apprenticeship. There is an unprecedented amount of work coming to the state and a dire shortage of people who have the skills to do those jobs. And those jobs we're talking about are the lowest paid trade in the union craftsmanship is in the neighborhood of $60,000. My trade it's six figures every day, right? With the proximity of your district to one of the biggest construction jobs in the country, it makes sense that we attempt to initiate this partnership with you. The program that we're standing up, an industry recognized credential, I apologize, established by all 14 union trades nationally and internationally. It's already accepted within the State Board of Education of Arizona as a CTE program under the Construction Technologies umbrella, right? And in a partnership with the Arizona Building Trades Council, we intend to provide direct industry partnership from all leaders of the 14 trades within the state of Arizona. And the end result is direct or preferred entry into any one of the 14 apprenticeships. It's a substantial program, and alongside of that, you get, my whole job is to, upon completion of the program, facilitate those students that graduate from it into entry into one of the, personal introduction into the trades, right? It's a great opportunity. We're really interested in building a partnership. I apologize, I'm pretty nervous about this.
You're doing good.
But that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
The next speaker is Katie Nash on student clubs.
Before we start there, Madam President, can I ask to get this on a future agenda item? The point is that...
Mr. Roars, you may ask a staff individual to go talk to that person, but that's about all you can do in response to this.
Okay. Can you go talk to him?
Dr. Ager, would you mind meeting? Okay.
Sorry, Katie, I apologize.
Now do I go?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here tonight as a concerned parent in CUSD. I'm disturbed and outraged by the actions of one of our governing board members and the message it sends to our community. By boasting attendance on their governing board candidate's social media page and wearing their board member badge at the event, it sends the message that the governing board and CUSD support the actions of this individual. With words like no more woke schools, no more indoctrination, and stating that they were there in their official capacity as a board member, it appears as though these are the beliefs held by the governing board and district. The only indoctrination that we have in our public schools since their inception is a white Western Christian canon that already emphasizes blind patriotism and the tenets of so-called free market capitalism. Only when the historical and current legacies of the systems and institutions are examined by analytical perspectives do we call it CRT or whatever buzzword the alt-far right is choosing to use. What is most concerning is that this group openly targets the CUSD governing board on its website. It takes about 3 clicks to get to CUSD from their school board watch list link. Their mission harkens back to the worst histories of half-truths, hearsay, and willful ignorance that drove previous historical witch hunts, and CUSD is clearly in its crosshairs. As we look to our portrait of a learner, the creation of which included many stakeholders, including staff, parents, students, and community members, it has attributes like empathy, critical thinking, collaboration, and global citizen. I fail to see where violence, hate, exclusivity, and uniformity fit in. I ask you, who is attempting to radicalize our schools? Who is attempting to indoctrinate our students? What message does this send to our students who come from historically marginalized, under-resourced, and underserved communities? Thank you.
I think I was targeted directly on that, so I think I'm allowed to respond. Is that correct?
If it's correct, if it's additional information, that corrects it.
Okay. There is some disinformation that does need to be corrected. First of all, the website you refer to is a fake Facebook page that somebody else set up. I did not make those comments. I don't know who does this sort of thing, but that's what happened. So trying to refer that as my own comments is not true. Okay. Second thing, if you're on a school campus, you're required to wear your badge at all times, and you being a former employee of the district know that. Okay, so I had nothing to do with the meeting. I'm required to have that badge on. As far as these people being dangerous, they're not dangerous. The only danger was the people that wanted to disrupt this meeting that never showed up. So we actually wasted, Gilbert PD, their time for 4 officers for something that never occurred.
She did not say anything about that, so that's additional information. So please restrict yourself to just the criticisms that she mentioned.
Okay.
Or
So I just want
corrections,
to point out those
fact
items of
corrections.
disinformation that should not be taken as fact. Thank you.
The next speaker is Kelsey Bradshaw, parent concern.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the board. I am grateful for this opportunity, and first I would just like to recognize that we are all here because of our servicemen and women who have sacrificed so much and given their lives for our freedom, and how blessed we are to be here, to be able to stand at this microphone and express concerns and thoughts because of the freedom that we were given through these men and women. So I'm so grateful for that. And I just come to you as a concerned parent that is representing a lot of parents who are concerned about the possibility of implementing comprehensive sexuality education in CUSD. And this is comprehensive sexuality education is not just your standard sexuality education. It starts at an age bracket of age 4 to 7 typically, and it is sponsored by Planned Parenthood and other Planned Parenthood affiliates. And it does have a lot of teachings in it that are not science-based, that are actually politicized and opinion-based. And so I would just ask the board emphatically if you could please consider even talking to parents, opening it up to maybe a vote that would be able to be had to hear parents' voices on how they feel about comprehensive sexuality education. And with all due respect, I really love hearing what other people have to think and say, and so I welcome the new school board members. And with all due respect, I would like to ask if it would be okay to ask if Patty Serrano, if you do support comprehensive sexuality education.
We cannot respond, I'm sorry.
Okay, even when you addressed, specifically.
No, we cannot respond,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So in just trying to find out what our school board members believe and represent, because that's a big part of their representing us. And so I really appreciated a conversation that we had and looking forward to getting to know more about you. But you did tell me that you were in support, that you thought that comprehensive sexuality education has a place in CUSD. And so that's why I'm just coming to get more information. And is there a time when you're voting on this? Do you have a plan for that you can just make sure that all parents have equal access to that plan and what the conversation is?
I can respond
Okay,
to that
thank you.
piece because there is nothing on the docket for what you're talking about with a comprehensive sex education courses for COSD anyway. There's nothing that is coming up or on that topic. Is that correct, Dr. Gilbert? Okay.
Okay, so nothing on the docket. That would also be dealing with the social emotional learning. Is there any aspects of comprehensive sexuality education that are in the social emotional learning?
It'd be nice if we could concentrate on education.
That's my
But
point in being here.
we cannot engage, Mr. Worth, yes, I know.
So I just hope and I pray that I wish you all the best. I hope that we can focus on spending all our taxpayers' money on spending time on academics only and not any sort of politicized programs
Time has
that could
expired.
be taken from people that are paying taxes. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Corrine Collins, Perry High School.
Hello, school board members. I'm Corinne Collins from Support Equality Arizona Schools, a student-run activist group that primarily focuses on LGBTQIA+ rights. We have a member from Perry High who has written a statement but could not physically be here. I will read to you as much as I can from his testimony. At his school, Turning Point USA posted around campus and on social media about a publicly available after-school club session, which enforced very partisan, conservative, and questionable information. A session that Mr. Roars was photographed attending in an alleged public CUSD captivity and endorsed. As students, this is unacceptable. In my 3 years of attending Perry High School, it has become apparent to me that the school harbors an overwhelming conservative student majority. This is not bad because they have different political opinions from me. I understand the value of a marketplace of ideas. The reason I say this is because of the constant influence that Turning Point USA has had in our school and the indoctrination they currently are practicing in. As a result, the school feels like an unsafe environment. As a typically open gay man, who takes pride in my queerness, I still have to watch out where I disclose my identity for fear of ridicule and exclusion, even though I have some spaces at school where I feel comfortable. I am grateful that there is a GSA. However, it is not well known and there have been little efforts made to promote inclusion and diversity, even in the case of anti-bullying assemblies that have been perfect opportunities to address minority populations and the importance of their safety. I hope now you understand there's a lack of diversity and inclusion in the school. On the other hand, there's something there isn't a lack of, namely the Turning Point USA sponsored posters and flyers all around campus, on news bulletin boards, and there are dedicated board for Turning Point USA on the second floor of the C building. From this, it's clear where the school priorities are and what the administrations believe. You may say that the presence of Turning Point USA is to promote politically active in the youth, but I assure you this is nothing more than thinly veiled indoctrination. It is for some reason a right-wing political organization truly had benevolent desires. Surely there would be a left-wing organization also at the school
30 seconds.
to support those with beliefs. Many of our teachers that are sometimes head of the departments disagree with their very own teachings due to the conservative political beliefs, such as a biology teacher that does not believe in evolution, to name one specific example. These do not hesitate to disclose their political ideologies despite alleged having to keep quiet for the sake of neutrality, and fearing censorship, which happens to be a major facet in the rhetoric found in Turning Point USA material displayed in Perry's high school hallways.
The next speaker is Hayden Nguyen, LGBTQ Mental Health.
Before we go there, I endorsed nothing. I went there to hear what the man had to say, as I hope you do, and it was nothing like what was represented here. Thank you.
Hello, thank you, Superintendent, President, Acting President, and members of the board for your time. I've come in front of you times before to tell you a few things. I've told you a lot about how students around the nation and in Chandler are suffering from mental health issues, that people have died. But I've also told you that specifically LGBTQ students have died the most. 1 in 5 trans and non-binary people or youth have attempted suicide within the last year, and that's according to the Trevor Project. Slightly less than half of LGBTQ students have considered suicide within the last year. That's also according to the Trevor Project. But the reason why I bring this up is because if you have a violent environment, like we've seen last week at Perry High School, where you're allowed to invite openly conservative MAGA hulks to the cafeteria to speak to the student body, to speak to the students and still somehow be nonpartisan and still somehow be neutral on these issues, I don't get how that is, and I don't think anybody with reasonably can understand how that is a neutral position and how that is safe for people of minority, who are of a minority group, or people who are LGBTQ, people who are suffering the most under bigotry and pre-existing conditions in these schools, which are causing them to have empirically worse mental health. We have to address this. I want to ask the board that they please consider in the future what clubs are being allowed in their schools. Clubs that are openly political, and specifically clubs that are openly political, that are of one side of the spectrum, and for some reason not of the other side. Why is there a Turning Point USA club at Perry High School allowed to invite a speaker to speak to the students, in which the posters which advertised that club and which advertised that event did not display any disclaimer claiming that CUSD was not sponsoring that event, that there was a board member at that event? How could you say that we are being nonpartisan here? How could we say that we are protecting the lives of students, people who are dying due to their mental health issues in this district, if there's an openly hostile event to them which advocates for anti-trans, as we said before, one of my colleagues said before, anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ agendas? Is clear that if we have these clubs here, if we allow these people to speak on political issues, to be openly partisan, to be openly anti-LGBTQ on campus, there's no doubt that that is causing harm to our students. Thank you.
The next speaker.
Again, that was not what was talked about. In fact, they talked an awful lot about being canceled by other groups, but that was not the subject of the conversation. That's a misrepresentation of what happened.
The next speaker is Dawn Shim, supporting LGBTQ students.
Good evening. My name is Dawn Shim. I use they, she pronouns, and I'm here to talk about LGBTQ student mental health and some of the recent events that have happened at Perry. Last weekend, there was a bomb threat at a coffee shop that I often go to. This coffee shop is a safe space for LGBTQ people. And the reason that I bring this up is because this bomb threat was made by the Proud Boys, and the Proud Boys have a very clear connection to Turning Points USA, and specifically Stephen Davis, who calls himself MAGA Hulk, allegedly. That's ridiculous that we're inviting someone to a school to speak at a school club on school grounds, a man who is affiliated with sending threats, bomb threats, to LGBTQ people, to LGBTQ communities, and at an event that was supposed to be a safe space for LGBTQ youth. I need you to understand the magnitude of this. You guys have pretty much denied our requests to work together on improving LGBTQ mental health, on helping student outcomes, but you're allowing clubs like Turning Points USA to come into schools, these people who are making bomb threats against queer youth. That's ridiculous. Board member Kurt Roars was there. He says that the speaker was discussing cancel culture, but the other thing is that the speaker in the past has made very violently misogynistic comments, very violently anti-trans comments towards young people online, and these are links that I can send you, and very, very homophobic comments as well as bomb threats. Mr. Roars says that he was there on just an interest to see what was going on. So I invite Mr. Roars and all members of this board to attend GSAs, to come to our GSA meetings and learn from our LGBTQ students about what is truly affecting them. If you are just there to hear about what's going on in the student body, our LGBTQ students are more than happy to talk to you. We are more than happy to talk to you. We would love to set up a meeting, let you know what's going on. We do not want to see a one-sided board or a board that is cowering under the pressure that Turning Points USA and conservative parents are having over them. It's ridiculous that we're inviting speakers who are outwardly violent towards young people on the internet to come into schools. That's gotta be a safety violation. And they advertised this meeting as being open to the public, but then when I arrived to, just like Mr. Royce, hear out the speaker, they asked me to leave when it was advertised as a public event. None of this is adding up. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem like this is something that was a decision that was well thought out by the school or by the board. And this club should not be one that is present on campus, influencing our young people with beliefs that are violently homophobic, misogynistic, transphobic, racist. I can go on and on. It's ridiculous. I have called out a lot of instances.
The next speaker is Elijah Watson, anti-CRT misconduct.
Okay, you know, Mr. Davis is not affiliated with the Proud Boys. He's not affiliated with, what you're referring to is an incident back at UC Davis.
If this is not a criticism.
No, this is just correcting the facts. What you're referring to is a violent confrontation there.
Kurt, yes.
I said that he was affiliated with Turning Points USA, which has been affiliated with the Proud Boys. If you want a link on that, I will send you multiple. Thank you so much.
Okay. And he made no bomb threats that I know of. That's a very serious charge.
We'll let the police determine that. Oh, this last person is no longer here? Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. We will now move on to our consent agenda, and that will be presented by Mr. Narducci.
Thank you, Madam Vice President and board members. We have a short consent agenda item, and they consist of 7.01 out-of-state student travel, an out-of-state field trip pre-planning form for Chandler High School, Hamilton High School, and Perry High School are provided. Following the governing board of pre-approval, Dr. Gilbert will work with trip arrangements for our secondary schools, and the governing board will receive a summary of final travel arrangements quarterly. Monetary gifts, we request the approval of the monetary gifts generously donated to Chandler schools, totaling $57,871.21. Under donations, we request the approval of the items generously donated to Chandler, totaling $20,214.61. 7.04 covers Club CUSD extracurricular activities. The board approved annual contracts with estimated spending on June 22nd, 2022. At that time, $650,000 was estimated for Community Ed Club CUSD extracurricular activities, in which was awarded to 29 vendors. Due to increased enrollment for enrichment programs, the district is requesting approval to increase the total amount to $750,000 for the remainder of the 22-23 school year. That means there's higher interest and there's more needed. So, and then under 7.05, human resources, employment, separation, compensation, and employee contracts as noted in the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Narducci. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next, we'll go on to our action items, and we have a few things tonight. The first is our network infrastructure equipment and structured cabling, and that will be presented by Colleen Flannery.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, in order to receive E-rate funding, the district issued a request for quotation for E-rate eligible network infrastructure equipment and structured cabling. All vendors were required to be on an existing state master contract, approved cooperative purchasing contract, or compliant consortium in order to qualify. The district received 5 responses to the RFQ. A district committee of 5 reviewed and scored each proposal. The committee recommends approval of Enterprise Network Solutions to provide the network infrastructure equipment and cabling in the amount of $9,710,642.72 per the attached quotes, utilizing the State of Arizona contract CTR 060345.
Thank you. Could I please get a motion for this?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, are there any questions on this or comments? I guess since no one's jumping in, I'll jump in. And could you, I guess, give us a kind of a higher level summary as to where these are going to be used, where they'll be concentrated in, and why we need them?
Well, without getting too technical, I will try. We are uplifting our 712 wireless, which is at some sites about 7 years old. So we will be replacing access points where students access wireless, teachers access wireless, along with adding additional cable to each of the access points. And then along with that, switches that run the network will be replaced for those access points. We will be replacing elementary switches and adding a network drop to every classroom in anticipation of putting in flat panels in all the classrooms.
And what do you anticipate, will there be an increase in performance of our system at the schools by doing this?
I hope so. Yes, there will be. Right now, we're struggling a little bit. We have 7-year technology old access points at some of our sites and newer computers. So this will definitely enhance performance.
All right. Are there any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of the network infrastructure equipment and structured cabling, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next, we're going to move on to our Budget Committee recommendations. Mrs. Berry is going to present.
Madam President, members of the board, The 2023 Chandler Unified School District Citizens Advisory Budget Committee was formed to obtain community input on the 23-24 expenditure budget. The information reviewed by the committee came from the new program budget requests, MP 5000s, that were submitted, which are submitted by individual schools, directors, and superintendents. On February 13th, after the questions had been answered, the committee unanimously approved the recommended MP 5000s, which included an increase to compensation. This USD budget for 2023-24 is based off the governor's budget that was released in January. Expenditure requests are based upon the budget proposed by the governor, but could change dependent upon what the legislature approves before June 30th. The Budget Committee will reconvene in June prior to the proposed budget being presented to the governing board to discuss final recommendations, which will then be presented to the governing board for approval. Tonight, we're requesting approval of the Budget Committee's recommendations for 23-24 MP 5000 requests. Now, I want to explain a couple things and talk to you about the packets, but right off the bat, we do the MP 5000 process. It was started actually by Mr. Worth, who's a board member years and years ago. And every year we request back in December for our superintendents and directors and building principals to turn in their budget requests. And then we accumulate all of those. We, as the cabinet, review those about 4 different times throughout the year. And then, or throughout the month of January. Then we take it to the Super Q committee. Hang on just a second. Robbie, I'll grab those. Thanks. That's right. I'll explain it. So, thanks. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. No, that's okay. So ultimately, we review it in January, and then we take it to Super Q, and we discuss the salary portion, in a sense, in Super Q, not with the budget request, but there's a portion of that that goes through Super Q. Super Q meets for a couple different days to finalize salaries and benefits, and then the Budget Committee meets after that, after the administration has reviewed, given yes, no's, under considerations, or sometimes yes if funding is available. And then the Budget Committee meets a couple different times. So all 3 are working together, and it's important because then we offer contracts. And now we are offering contracts in February or March, very different than 10 years ago. And so the process works all together, not only with the district staffing, but also with the Super Q and then with the Budget Committee. Now, on your attachments, I apologize. I was out of town, so I'm sorry for a family funeral, but there's 3 different attachments. And we're going to have Michelle Mowry in just a minute get up and talk about the Budget Committee's recommendation. There's also a summary form of just M&O and capital because that's really important. That part impacts salaries and benefits. Majority of that's attached. You're going to see an M&O and a capital for the yeses. That has the salary recommendation on it, and it also has some of the FTEs, and you see that on the attachment. There's another attachment that I wanted to apologize for. It's got it says 6 pages. It was supposed to be 32. So you're going to get a copy of the documents that Robbie just brought in. I noticed that when I was here. I apologize for that. When we PDF'd it, she PDF'd one tab instead of not all the tabs, and I apologize for that. So you're going to get these copies. I'm going to bring it back on March 8th to go through all the copies again with you because you didn't get those ahead of time. So just so you know that. But tonight we bring you the Budget Committee's recommendation. It's not a statutory requirement. We just do that in Chandler because we like to be transparent. We like to have a Budget Committee. We like to review what's gone on. Honestly, the budget approval process is in June and then in July, but it's something that we do that's important so that you know that a citizen group has looked through it, Super Q has looked through it, especially because tonight you're going to be approving contracts so we get those out. So it's just an important process. Each of you will get 6 of these. I'll give them out to you. And again, like I told Mr. Narducci, we'll bring it back on the March 8th board meeting to review any questions you have since you didn't have the full document that was attached. But today, the Budget Committee is still making their recommendations based on their findings, and so that's what you're going to hear about tonight and approve that piece.
Mr. Narducci, I do have a question on this. Since the entire attachment was not attached, we may need to bring the entire attachment back for approval.
Yes.
Okay, and is that the plan?
We will do that at March 8th. We'll bring the
Okay.
entire attachment, but we're going to give you the information that was missing from this item and tonight for you to be able to review as well, and it will come back March 8th.
Thank you.
Mrs. Marsden, I think the important thing too is that still, there's a recommendation for salaries and benefits, which are important for tonight, so that's still really important. But I think on the FTE positions, which are the piece, that's the only piece really missing is like on the CTE, for example, FTEs, and there's like a Title II FTE. It didn't show up on the M&O or capital. It's really, and then you, in the explanation about bonds, we bring that back to you in different formats. We bring that back to you in board action items, in board presentations, and a capital review plan in the budget process. It's the only other piece that's not on there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, in that regard, there's one question I had on the salaries. There's several items for Innovation Center staffing. Is there a development plan for this that I get hold of?
Since we haven't really gone to that yet, we're going to go ahead and have Mrs. Mowry give her presentation, and then Kurt will do a motion for this, and then we can have these questions. Mrs. Mowry.
Good evening, Madam President, Mr. Narducci, members of the board. Thank you for having me once again. I serve as your PAC chair for bonds and overrides, as well as the committee chair for the budget committee for several years. Good to see everybody. The 2023 Chandler Unified School District Citizen Advisory Budget Committee was formed to obtain community input on the 23-24 expenditure budget, as well as the proposed new program budget requests. Submittals from the individual schools, directors, and superintendents, known as your NP 5000s. The committee held 2 meetings at district office, commencing February 8th and then concluding February 13th. Each meeting's date and attendance count is listed at the end of this report. Teachers and administrative staff were encouraged to participate in discussions and ask questions, and voted individually on the final recommendations, as the committee recognized they were also stakeholders in the success of the district. Thanks to excellent management by the administrative and superintendent staff, the district is in strong financial health. Thank you for that. Its administrative costs are among the lowest in the state of Arizona. The district is the 2nd largest in the state, Mesa being the largest and Tucson the 3rd largest. Using an outside demographer's report, the district is expected to slightly decrease in enrollment over the next few years. The district is almost built out. However, it has been experiencing a decline in birth rates within our boundaries, a housing price increase, and a vast number of competitive schools in and around its borders. Student enrollment for the 22-23 preschool through 12th grade is 44,257. These students attend 44 schools, 31 elementary, 6 junior high middle school programs, 6 high schools, and 1 online school throughout our district. The district enrollment growth and smart financial planning over the past 3 decades has positioned the district in a strong financial state. The district contingency carryover funds will be used to help offset the decrease in enrollment over time. The goal is to maintain a healthy contingency to help with new programs, one-time incentives, and the offset of budget capacity when the district's student enrollment begins to decline. The first 2 committee meetings focused on CUSD general budget information, as well as background provided on the school funding in Arizona in general, and that was on February 8th, and Chandler in particular. Topics of discussion included levy expenditures, items specifically funded by M&O, the legislative process and history, the impact of last year's budget, and the new proposed budget released by the governor in January 2023. Lana Berry, CFO, reviewed the preliminary new program budget requests, MP 5000s, which were presented and discussed. She also reviewed and explained the M&O check register. Members of the committee were educated as to where the district ranks when compared to similarly sized school districts in Arizona. The committee was asked after the first meeting to review all the NP 5000 requests and to bring back questions and feedback to the second budget meeting on February 13th. During the second budget meeting, a thorough review of the 23-24 NP 5000s was conducted. Committee members asked questions from their review of the new NP 5000s, and the committee then voted to approve a recommendation to the governing board. Information presented included a comprehensive discussion from Lana Berry, who provided insight into multiple items in question. On February 13th, after all questions had been answered, the committee voted unanimously to approve the recommended NP 5000s. On February 17th, the report was finalized with details outlined in summary, findings, and recommendations format. The committee will meet again in June once the legislature has approved a 23-24 budget to finalize any budget requests not approved. And these were our findings. In terms of budget requests, which are the NP 5000, based on the information provided, the committee determined the funding requests listed and detailed in the NP 5000 summary, as presented during the meeting of February 13th, are valid and fully supported of the requests that are marked yes. Items listed as yes if funds are available and under consideration will be studied in the future by district administration and the committee. If approved, will be placed in the 23-24 proposed expenditure budget brought to the board in June. An attachment of the NP 5000s is provided for your review. A request for approval was made and the consensus approved for the 23-24 NP 5000 requests. The second findings was under salary and benefits increases. The committee fully supports the Super Q Committee's salary and benefits recommendation. There are also a few items that were approved outside of the Super Q recommendation but are listed in the NP 5000 requests. Third findings, summary of the NP 5000 requests. The committee reviewed each request outlined in the NP 5000 document. Requests were broken down between funding sources. Approval, yes. To be determined is under yes if funds are approved. Non-approval is no, or under consideration is marked as UC. There were approximately 32 million in requests, of which 14.8 million in minimum capital were approved. Some of the requests will be ongoing expenditures and some will be one-time expenditures. These are our recommendations. As far as NP 5000 requests, the committee recommends inclusion of the listed approved yes NP 5000 requests in the 23-24 budget. Some of the requests will be ongoing expenditures and some will be one-time expenditures. Renovation requests will be approved through the Executive Director of Support Services, the CFO, and the Superintendent, and will be brought back to the board through either action items, the proposed budget, monthly board updates, or the annual capital meeting. Second recommendation under salary and benefit increase, the committee recommends the salaries and benefits recommendation made by the Super Q Committee, which will be presented along with the Budget Committee's recommendation. These recommendations are based off of the governor's budget plan and will be in effect once it is approved by the legislature. Again, our meeting dates were February 8th, we had 22 people in attendance. February 13th, there were 19 in attendance. And we did recognize the need for another meeting in June, but that date is to be determined. And I respectfully submit this. Thank you so much. Oh, I do have one more thing to say, because I always have one more thing to say. As an administrator in a neighboring district, I appreciate the format and the time that CUSD takes in hearing the voices of all stakeholders. It's a really unique process, and thank you to Joel Worth for starting it. And Lana for shortening it a little bit, but thanks.
Oh, that hurt.
I also just wanted to add that Michelle has been amazing in not only helping with budget committee. Since I've been here for a decade, she's been part of our budget committee and part of our bonds and override committee. She's a parent in our district, but she's a great advocate of public education, and she's really been wonderful at stepping up, helping in all of our committees. So thank you, Michelle, for helping.
Ready for a motion?
And you are completed with your part also, Mrs. Berry. Okay. Could I please get a motion on this?
I recommend approval of the Budget Committee's recommendations of the 23-24 MP 5000 requests, subject to change on March 8th.
Is there a second?
I second that request.
All right. Mr. Roars, I'm going to start with you because you had some questions.
No, really.
And this is the right time to do it.
Thank you. Yeah, there were 4 staffing for the Innovation Center. I was wondering if there's a general plan available that we could look at.
So yes, if you saw on the renovation or the Innovation Center, you can see it's yes if funds available. So it's something that the Budget Committee knows we are going to be furthering. We have further information that will come about once we've studied that more. We've met with the city and with ASU on some of the STEM programs that will be with our junior high age student population. And do you want to add anything to that?
Sure. Member Roars, we're still working it through with agreements, and we'll bring those to the board before they're in the planning phase right now with the city and ASU, Arizona State University. So we've been at the table with them. So this is a placeholder in case that we do move forward with an available space that has been offered to us, but we would let you know if there was an MOU or contract that would move forward, and the staffing that would be accompanying that. We're not sure at this point that that's the best interest at this time, so we're still discussing that with all 2 entities, the ASU and the city.
So my understanding, there really is no general development plan. You're still working on that.
No,
and we're
we
just
have
getting this on.
We have a
on here.
proposal plan for the city and the state. City and Arizona State University that we've met with them and talked about. But we're not too sure right now about how much of the facility would be available to us, which would change that drastically, as well as how much space would be provided. Our whole intent is to offer STEM opportunities in environment where schools wouldn't have to recreate that, especially in our 221, 224 zip codes. I'm sorry, 224 and
226.
I'm sorry, 225.
225.
225, I'm sorry.
226 is on the
Zip
other side of the
codes,
freeway.
areas, which would be our Title I schools on the northern side of the district as well.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you're just not quite ready to bring that
Nope.
forward. Okay, thank you.
But we did want a placeholder because we will need to develop staff to further the concept.
Mrs. Serrano, did you have a question on this?
Yeah, I think my question is fairly simple, but I'm curious. I noticed line items for many of our school sites with their requests. Of course, it's the wish list, which is great, and I encourage. But I noticed that not all schools put in requests, and that caught my eye. So I'm just wondering, do we really have schools that have 0 requests? And I noticed that we were missing some of the reimagining schools, and I would have to think that they certainly have requests leading up to the big updates we were awaiting. So I just wanted to learn a little bit more about that.
Great question. Actually, the packets that you just saw you're going to see all of their requests. So a lot of them, especially in the one that's called building improvements and renovations, you'll see that. And a lot of those, they had requested items that will be in the reimagining process. And so a lot of them will say no because we are telling them it's going to be part of that reimagining process. So they're asking for it now, and we're saying, hey, go through the reimagining process on a lot of things. So you're going to see, when you look through all these, almost every school put in a request for something. There is almost every, I don't know if there's a school that's missing and did not put in a request. I think every school put some type of request in.
Okay.
Either you're going to see a tab that's called staffing, then you're going to see one called supplies, purchase services, building improvement, renovations, and furniture and equipment. And so I apologize, the one that got attached was just the furniture and equipment because it was just one of the tabs. But you'll see all of those. That's where the $32 million worth of requests came in.
Okay, yeah, I only looked at the online one, so I'll take a look at these later.
Yes.
And more importantly, I know we just had an update with one of our schools that was expected to be repurposed. That's no longer the case. So are we making sure to include them and budgeting for that?
Yes, yes. So in our bond, we have $20 million set aside for reimagining of our current schools. And within those schools are the schools that have been identified and part of the process this fall. So we'll have to make some adjustments once we go through the process with each one. And if we can't fund that full amount, then we'll look for when we go to put together the bond package for potentially 2024, that would be part of that.
Thanks,
Member Serrano, also, our schools have been given quite a bit of capital money from the days where they didn't have any, and some of the items may not be requested from schools because they're able to take care of that out of the capital money that's either distributed to the school site, or our departments also have a little capital money, or I know our elementary schools may not put something in there because it was taken care of as a request through that process.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Worth, did you have some questions?
I'll just make comments after we have a motion.
Oh, okay. We have had a motion.
Have we? Okay.
You made it.
I mean, can you tell I was thinking about what I wanted to say?
Yes.
Right now, the state of Arizona has a shortage of 5,000 teachers. A tremendous amount of teachers are non-certified. Frankly, I would never want my child in a classroom that doesn't have a certified teacher. In addition to that, I think we're 48th or 49th in funding of education. So I feel very strongly that I'm on the wrong agenda item.
You are.
No wonder. I was preparing, but wait until you hear my preparation. So I pass.
You passed, thank you. But I do appreciate those, the comments. So, Mrs. Berry or Mrs. Mowry, either one, on some of these items that were rejected, could those items have been in 2 separate spreadsheets that we aren't seeing that they actually are being funded? And some of the items that we looked at, that I was looking at through on the attachments, I said, well, I wonder why we're not funding those. And in the past, a other funding sources had been identified so that they could be funded through those funding sources versus the NP 5000 process. And so could you comment a little bit on that? Are we seeing some of those in here too that were no's?
You bet. So we ask, in the NP 5000 process, we asked them to identify staff. Then we asked them to identify purchase services, supplies, travel, because that's different. We asked them to identify capital items, and then we asked them to identify renovations. So 4 different avenues to put requests in. So that's why you see it broke out the way it is. Now, we have either approved it as yes, we've said no to it because there is not enough money. There's only so much money in the pot, so that's where we have maximized the dollars that we do have. We have it under consideration because a lot of times we still have to look into it a lot more or see if there's a different funding source that can happen, or if there's additional money that becomes available, it might be considered. And then we had a category called yes, if funding becomes available, because we're going to kind of wait to see if additional money becomes available on top of what the governor has proposed. Typically, always what goes through is the governor's amount plus additional items that the legislature puts through. That's the typical, what the history has shown us. But again, we have to wait for the legislature. So you're going to see yes, no, under consideration. Now, what you don't see is the notes. That's our internal notes of why, and we give that back to the school administrator typically of why we didn't recommend it. It might be we just don't have the funding for it at this time. It might be because we're reimagining, and so they might have asked for new desks and furniture, and we said, hey, it's going to be part of the reimagining process. If we did say you could fund it with something like results-based funding, it'll say RBF for results-based funding. If it's a CTE funding, it'll say CTE, it'll say community ed. We tried as much as possible, but a lot of things can't go into a grant, and we only have so much grant funding in our district. So most of it was based on the money that was available, based on the check register, and then unfortunately there's $32 million worth of requests. So there's only so much money. That's why there's a lot of no's on there too.
Yes. Thank you. All right.
I think I need to make a comment after. Part of the reason is I've just learned with the Budget Committee in Atlanta, I trust what they do, and I don't necessarily need to ask questions. So.
Well, thank you. I also, before we go ahead and vote, I would like to express my appreciation to Mrs. Mowry for her leadership, also on the Budget Committee, and also all of the committee members who came and spent a large number of hours of their family time working on the Budget Committee with Lana and Mrs. Mowry. So thank you very much for your commitment and the Budget Committee's members' commitment also to this process. So with that, I will say, ask for a vote. All those in favor of approving the Budget Committee's recommendation of the 23-24 NP 5000 requests, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Next, we'll move on to employee compensation for the 23-24 school year or fiscal year, shall we say. Dr. Nance.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, the Super Q Committee, which is the district's negotiating team comprised of certified support and administrative staff, held 2 meetings in January and February to review funding allocated to Chandler Unified School District from the state of Arizona. Each employee group received a financial update on the budget for 2023 school year. Using this information, the Super Q team refined and revised compensation recommendations to present for governing board approval at tonight's meeting. If you don't mind, I'm going to read through the list for those who don't have access to it. The following items are recommended for approval. Support staff, certified staff, and administrator raise, all receiving the same equivalent percent raise between 2.5 and 3%. Support retention stipend for $2,000 if funding is available, and it would be distributed in the spring. Certified and administrator retention stipend, $1,000 if funding available to be distributed in the spring. Sorry, that's a mouthful there. Continue our wellness incentive. We have criteria set up, so $400 would be allocated to that employee or a member of their family who's on our insurance if they meet the criteria for prerequisites to ensure healthy measures are in place. Health insurance employer contribution, 3% increase covered by Chandler Unified. Our Journey 2025 stipend continue the $600, which is also prorated for part-time if our district metrics are achieved. Moving our special ed compliance stipend, we piloted it this year, moving it to from one-time funding to a continuing M&O for this hard-to-fill position. Salary schedule entry adjustments, increasing the entries to the certified support and administrative salaries by 3%. Elementary technology teachers, we have several of them that were funded from results-based funding. With the decrease in that in the future, we would like to move them, and the recommendation is to move them into continuing M&O funds. In addition to the above, we have some non-compensational items which were recommended and are related to committee work and additional policies that will have to be updated. These will be brought for review to the governing board at a later date. But on behalf of all three employee groups, we recommend approval of the compensation items listed above for the 23-24 school year.
Thank you, Dr. Nance. I appreciate it. I know there's a lot of work that goes in to all of the Super Q meetings, and I want to express my appreciation to all the staff members who participated in that and really were able to work together to come up with this proposal. So could I get a motion, please?
Madam President, I move to approve the Budget Committee recommendation with the 3% raise.
So I'll second that.
All right. Are there any questions or comments?
I'll go last since my listening skills were poor.
We're punishing you, or you're volunteering to be punished, I guess. Okay. Are there any questions?
Matt, sorry, I just wanted to clarify, it wasn't the Budget Committee's recommendation, it's Super Q's recommendation. I don't know if that makes a difference on agenda notes.
There is under recommended action, if you would like to perhaps, 8.03. There's a recommended action on the, right above where it says public comment, or content, rather.
Let's try this again.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. So I approve the employee compensation package as recommended by Super Q to include a 3% increase for support staff, certified, and administrators. Moved.
Mr. Worth, do you want a second again?
I'll second.
Okay. Also, please say that you're withdrawing your first motion.
Oh, I said at the end.
No. Would you say that you're also withdrawing your first motion, please?
And I am withdrawing the first motion made.
And are you?
Second.
Okay, great. So we now have one motion on the table. Are there any questions or comments about this agenda item?
I guess I don't need to vent, so I'm happy with the 3%. So.
Okay. Are there? All right. I think there was one question that I had on this. About the health insurance employer contribution. Is that what we are expecting to have as an increase in the total premium, or is that just our, or is there going to have to be an employee contribution also to that?
And I can answer that, Ms. President. So Madam President, we find out tomorrow. We have a board meeting tomorrow with Kairos, and we go over rates. And then next week, we'll go over that as a district. We do anticipate we'll have a slight increase in the rates. The inflation is actually around 9%, but we don't believe we're self-insured within Kairos, the trust. But we do believe there will be an increase, a slight increase, and we'll bring that back. That will cover the employee portion. The only portion that's not is for our families. And so if they choose to elect the voluntary of their family, they'll have to pay for that increase. So right now, we're projecting what we have put on the document, and we'll find out tomorrow and have the final next week.
Great. So this should then, just a minute. So this should then cover what the employee would have to be paying it in health insurance.
Yes.
And,
so then they won't have to pay anything out of their pocket for employee insurance.
Thank you. Mr. Worth?
What's your estimated increase?
I think it'll be 2 to 3%.
My history says that's too low. And when inflation is 9%. So I'm assuming you have resources to get
we do.
If necessary. Okay.
Yes.
Great. All right. I guess we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of The employee compensation package is recommended by SuperQ to include a 3% increase for support staff, certified, and administrators. Please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're now on to our information items. And our first is our student activity, auxiliary operations, and tax credit reports. Mrs. Berry.
Madam President, members of the board, the student activities, auxiliary operations, and tax credit reports for the months ending July of 2022 through January of 2023 are provided for your review.
Thank you, Mrs. Berry. Are there any comments or questions? Mr. Roars?
Well, are we going to sum these at the bottom so I don't have to add up 20 pages worth of stuff?
Sorry about that. Yes, we can do that for the future. Sorry about that.
Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to the Advanced Placement Chemistry Resource, and that will be presented by Dr. Edgar.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, there is a demand for an updated comprehensive resource for advanced placement chemistry. COSD's current AP Chemistry Resource, Chemistry 7th Edition, AP Edition, was published in 2013. An RFI was released to identify a resource that closely aligns with the most recent AP Chemistry course and exam description released in 2022. The committee is recommending the following textbook move forward in the textbook adoption process. Savas Chemistry, A Molecular Approach, 6th Edition, Advanced Placement Edition, 2023, with modified mastering chemistry with Pearson eText. The cost for a class set is $5,984.10, including estimated tax, shipping, and processing. This includes 30 student editions, 6-year subscription to modified mastering with eText, test prep for AP Chem. Per ARS 15-721 and CUSD policy IJJ, the materials will be on display in the main lobby of the CUSD's Instructional Resource Center for 60 days, beginning February 2023, for public viewing and input. Digital access to the materials on a 60-day review will be available for public viewing via the following website. And a final recommendation is anticipated at the regularly scheduled board meeting on May 10th, 2023.
Thank you, Dr. Edgar. Any comments or questions? Dr. Edgar, they talk about it as a class, just a class set. Obviously, we have AP Chemistry in several of our high schools, so this will be, we'll have to be getting a set for, one set for each high school?
Correct, or more, depending on the number of sections.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next, we have phenomena in natural science. Dr. Edgar, that's yours also.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, there is a demand to provide a comprehensive instructional resource for the new high school science course, Phenomena in Natural Science. An RFI was released to identify a resource that closely aligns with the ADE standards for high school science addressed in the course. In addition, the RFI calls for resources that will complement the CUSD's one-to-one initiative. The committee is recommending STEM scopes by Accelerate Learning move forward in the adoption process. The cost is $71,100, including estimated tax, shipping, and processing. This includes 6 years of access for 1,000 students per year and their teachers and STEM scopes, high school earth and space online, high school physical science online, BBC STEM scopes, streaming online, and the online assessment package for high school. Per ARS 15-721 and CUSD policy IJJ, the materials will be on display in the main lobby of the CUSD's Instructional Resource Center for 60 days beginning on February 23rd, 2023 for public viewing and input. Digital access to the materials on a 60-day review will be available for public viewing via the following website, cusd80.com, and a final recommendation is anticipated at the regularly scheduled board meeting on May 10th, 2023.
Thank you, Dr. Edgar. Comments, questions? So this is a digital-only resource?
Yes.
So these classes will not have a physical textbook for them? Okay.
Correct.
And what is in the instructional resource center is strictly a computer that they can log into to look at these resources, or they can do it at home.
It is a placard, and we will have somebody there to assist you if you need assistance navigating the site. But yes, you can also navigate to this same site at home.
Great. Just wanted to make sure our public knew that they can do it from their own home, in the convenience of their own home. So thank you so much. Next, we have the roadmap, and we're looking at our next meeting being March 8th.
There's nothing on March 8th.
There's no items specifically on March 8th, but we do know that we're going to have a part of the budget on March 8th, that we'll be looking at again. And I am sure that there will be additional things scheduled within the next couple of days. So next we have our superintendent comments. Mr. Narducci.
Madam Vice President, members of the board, and individuals that are in our audience, I'd like to begin by congratulating Carlson Elementary School. Carlson has been named an A+ School of Excellence by the Arizona Education Foundation. This is a great deal of work to earn this recognition. It begins with a hefty written application followed by visitations from a team of judges that make sure the school is accomplishing what they said they were. Congratulations to Principal Andy Morgan and the Carlson Champions, team of staff, students, and parents. Chandler schools have earned this recognition more than any other district in the state, 83 times, and 14 have gone on to be recognized as U.S. Blue Ribbon schools. I also like to thank ACP, before this goes, middle school students who showcased their Model Future Cities projects this evening. They were in the training room and on display, and the students did a great job of talking about their competition, and that all was spearheaded by City Manager Josh Wright, going in and talking about what Future Cities looks like, and then they went into the competition, so which was very nice to see. Last week at the District Night of Recognition, with your help, we honored more than 150 students, staff, and volunteers for their commitment to CUSD. A special thank you to Arizona College Prep Middle School, CTA Goodman, and Perry Air Force JROTC for helping make this event extra special for our honorees. Also last week, the regional spelling bee was held among charter and public schools. CUSD was well represented in the top 9. As a matter of fact, our kids were the majority of the top 9, with 2 of our CUSD students winning first and second place. As you see on the screen, the 2 students that will be competing in the Arizona State Spelling Bee March 18th are 6th grader Opal Mishra from Basha AMS and 7th grade Regina Rascone from Bogle Junior High School. The State Seal of Biliteracy, Seal of Civics Literacy, and Seal of Personal Finance and Student Design Contest has finished, and the Arizona Department of Education selected the winners. The winning designs were created by 3 Hamilton High School students in David Belfort's graphic arts class. Senior Logan Sears designed the Seal of Biliteracy. Junior Ryan Salek also is featured here, and then Senior Ignacio Gutierrez also was featured. And so it's quite the honor that our kids in their own class helped design an authentic competition for the state, utilize their skills in their classroom to be able to do that. So neat to see authentic learning taking place. We'd also like to congratulate Perry High School culinary teacher, Angela Stutz. She was inducted into the Phoenix chapter of the LDEI, an organization of female leaders in food, fine beverage, hospitality field, who provide leadership, educational opportunities, and philanthropic events for the larger communities. Mrs. Stutz has 30 years of work in the industry and 15 years at Perry. This is especially timely as this is Career and Technical Education Month, and culinary is a CTE course. Finally, we'd like to say Happy School Bus Drivers Appreciation Day. I think we probably should say that every day. Thank you to all of our bus drivers and the entire transportation department for safely driving students to and from their destinations. Hashtag We Are Chandler Unified. And if anyone is interested that's hearing this voice at this time and joining our transportation team, apply today on our website and we will give you a priority interview. So if you have a desire to drive, you drive safely, and you love kids, come and talk to us. Also, just one more thing, our Science Innovation Fair, and I know this has been sent out to our parents, but I just want to remind them again that our Chandler Innovation Fair is going to be downtown Chandler on Saturday, February 28th, which is this Saturday. It is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and this event is free to the public. So we'd love for you to come down this Saturday and celebrate science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, all the STEM fields, and come and talk to our kids and staff who will be there presenting as well. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Narducci. Board member recognition. Mr. Wars?
I just want to apologize to Patty for the improper method of doing an agenda item.
Patty?
None tonight. Thank you, Barb.
Thank you. Mr. Roars?
Yeah, it was a busy week. On Saturday, February 18th, the Perry High School Robotics Club had their CO2 dragster competition. That was judged by the Sun Lakes Rotary Club volunteers. I wanted to at least give a shout out to Tim Beatty, who is the engineering teacher over there that helped these kids out, and Clint Bauer, the assistant principal that helped organize the event. Then on Tuesday, February 21st, the Santan Junior High School Honors Club celebrated with a pizza party with Mayor Kevin Hartkey as a thank you for helping Fortis Femina and Fortis Teen Unity with collecting donations to distribute to the homeless. Then on Tuesday, February 21st, we've already heard about this, Perry High School Turning Point Club. It was a talk on racial unity with 2 black men and a young Asian woman who are reaching out to white students to try to make judgments based on people's character and behavior rather than their skin color, and to reject the divisive rhetoric promoted by outside political agitators. This actually appears to align with the SEL lessons that we do offer in our classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening, and this meeting is adjourned.